and shaving cadre aficionados, fans. Today I'm going to do some talking, and then I'll do some work. I'll probably take some photos of what I do and plug them in after this. The topic of what I want to talk about is straight razor honing instructions from the 19th century. And what I did, I had a copy of this. I went ahead and I printed this up. Okay, what this is this is the ancient grinder's handbook from I think it was like 1860 something or whatever. This is the English interpretation of it. This comes from a gentleman whose screen name is usually JPO. His name is John, a gent who is Norwegian and was one of the inspirations that I had in continuing to pursue and further my work with convex shaped hones. John has been a great contributor, and his methodology is a little different than mine. And since he has done shaping of his plates in a method that I maybe is a little bit more work and maybe a little more complicated than what I want to do, he has my ultimate respect, as well as getting this interpreted from German to he found a German gent who also was fluent in English and did the interpretation of it. This was the document that Jared Connerty found. Actually, he didn't find it. His landlord, who is of a descent that takes him back to visit family in that part of the world, found this in a library and brought it back to him. And there were bits and pieces of it that were interpreted, and that's where this thing got started. There's a lot of people that practice straight razor honing by methods that are late 20th century or early here in the 21st century, but much more modern methods than this. And I highlighted some things on here, and there's the headline on it, and this can be found in the original. It can be found on the World Wide Web, and it specifically talks about straight razors, and I did not look at the whole thing, but it talks about sharpening of all different types. Okay, and this section on straight razors talks where it's different than other types of knives. It says because it discusses the full hollow ground. Okay, so this is for hollow ground razors. And the timing of this would have been prior to the invention of the machine known as the hexa, which is still in use today. Some of them from early 1900s, which is a double-wheeled grinding mechanism, has wheels about yay big, and the craftsman uses one hand to pressure the two together. And what it does is simultaneously grinds the razor and hollows out the razor. And there's numerous videos around showing these being used in Germany, in Sheffield, England, and in France. This describes it. It said is generally known to prepare a straight razor for use after it has been as close as possible completed on the rotating sharpening stone wheel. And I've seen videos where the actual edge after the hollow grinding on the hexa, after the edge of the razor is done on a wheel where they support the razor, and they begin to put the edge on it, and then the final sharpening of the edge, the honing of the edge. And it says right on here, it does say, and it talks about the hollow nature of the bevels. Okay, so when I use the term hollow bevel, I'm not, this is very, very old. Okay, this is very, very antiquated, and I don't expect some people to ever accept this as a legitimate method, and this even describes why that is. Okay, and one interesting thing that it says, it talks about grinding by different methods and wedges, and it says, and it specifically says, even worse, a slight convex in the bevel, meaning a bevel that is curved like this, which greatly depletes the needed fineness of the cutting edge. So this is from 1860 something. Okay, this is not Bill M. sitting here espousing something for my own fame, as one famous guy, famous in his own mind, has made the accusation that this is why I do this. No, I do this for fun, and I enjoy going through the ancient type things, and it is proven out for me to be a really great method. Okay, and then further down where it starts to actually talk about how it's done, and you can find this. Okay, you can find this. There's numerous different forums where John has posted this information. If you go into the Cadre, if you want to PM me on the Cadre, I'll direct you to it, or I'll message you back a copy of it, a PDF or whatever, so that you can actually have it and read it if you can't find it. Okay, and one thing it says, this talks about the stones, and it says, this is the grinder recording things, and he says some use 2 or 3 stones with gradual fineness and grit. So you have a stepping of the grit, which is very common. Okay, it's what I do. But it says you don't have to do that. You could use just the finest stone. It would just take you a little bit more work to get there. And then it says others go even one step further and change the surface of the stones used in their gradual sharpening set. And then it says a well-versed man in this matter, meaning honing razors, told me of this for him a very advantageous practice. The first best biting roughest stone, which can be an oil or a water stone, shall be made to a convex surface. Okay, and that is exactly what I have here, and I have other stones that do this where this is convexed. Okay, so that is the first stone in the process, and it says the second stone. It talks about the names of what they are. So, and then it talks about a less convexness, and I have a couple on that shape. This is a soft arc, okay, which is theoretically the same as this, okay, and I have a use for this. But then I'll go to this, which has less of a curve, okay, and let's see where we are. That's the second. Okay, only the third last stone shall be only the third, the last stone shall be flat, and for this one a fine hard clay stone. Okay, so that's where it's talking about probably like a a Belgian Codicule or maybe even a JNAT or something like that. I'm not really sure, but I'm using in some cases synthetics, okay, because of the relative ease of shaping and the consistency in the numerical value and the abrasive that's in there. Okay, and this goes on to say, it says this method is rational with the convexness of the first two stones of the steel near the bevel will be thinned down successively, which only leads to a superbly thin bevel with the last convex stone who only needs very little work. Okay, so what you're doing is you're creating this edge that has been convexed, and the very last step you need is very little work on the flat. Okay, and I've made some departures in the things that I do. I've not used a flat, although I will now. Okay, and I'll show you. I'll get to that, and I'll show you why and where I'm going to do that. And it goes on to say, and this is where the writer of this, okay, the one who recorded this in 1860, basically predicted that most people are not going to do this, okay, because back then it was, kind of fell into the tribal nature of things, you show me, and there is not any real scientific way to document other than to talk about it, okay? But it says, as a matter of fact, this process, as far as I know, is only used by knife makers, knife grinders, and barbers, okay? And then, so the gent who was doing the interpretation on this, okay, and this is italicized, it says, so basically he tells us that we normal dudes do not know enough, have not had enough years of training required to hone on convex stones. Okay, and I'm not so sure that it's the honing on the convex stones, although that could be the fear that some people have of it. I have actually found it easier than honing on flat stones, because in the flat stone and what I'm going to call the triangular prism of that shape, you have a triangular prism and you expect your razor to be in that. And if your razor is not, it requires you to do some really weird things on flattened stones. And by the time you take that triangle, which is, your triangle is not going to have, you may have an edge on that and it may shave very well, but it will be very durable, okay? Once it's smoothed off, once you wear that apex down a little bit and kind of round that off, it'll last forever, okay? But it's never going to cut. It's never going to cut like that hollowed out thing where it's going to take a little bit more wear as you go along before you begin to lose the keenness of that edge. And then with some of the modern methods, okay, and the use of, okay, so you maybe have a razor that does not quite conform to the requirement for that triangular prism. So what you do is you put a couple of layers of tape or whatever on the edge, so that takes out some of the, plus it takes that razor and it pitches that up so that it's not as critical to any little waviness that might be in that particular blade. And I've honed numerous razors that all have that same waviness, and I've had no problem with doing it. But a popular methodology is we put tape on there, and what we do is we pitch that up so it gets down and it works on the edge a little bit better. The problem with that is you've taken that, as far as I'm concerned, inferior triangular prism, and you've actually increased the angle. And now you might only say, well, tape, it's only this, it's only that. Well, and I've heard guys, well, I use another layer of tape and another layer of tape, and they do all that. And that's all well and good, okay? I just found it somewhat inconsistent, because I've done that, and I've been on the stones, and I find out then the tape wears, and that creates an inconsistency. And I'm not opposed to taping the spine on the razors, okay? If I don't have any showcase queens, okay, there are people, there's a popular guy that has probably more, and I recently owned a filly, but this guy has all these fillies, and they're in beautiful shape and all that, and he always uses tape, because what he doesn't want to do is he does not want them to look like they've been ever used. Okay, I doubt they shave as well as the one that I did recently, but they look pretty. They really do look pretty. I can't. And if you have a very expensive razor that has a lot of decorative work and like a gold wash applied to it and all that kind of stuff, and you want to preserve that, I can understand putting a piece of tape on there, okay, to preserve that. What I can't find is that there's any performance benefit to doing that. And then this does talk about in the final analysis of things. It talks about what I'm doing with strops that have abrasives on it, and it says it talks about leather, and it says prepared beforehand, impregnated with a mixture of fine honing or polishing powders and fat. Okay, and it specifically talks about the polishing red, the polishing black, and there's some of the more modern stuff that I have is more modern stuff. Okay, now the one thing that I have always wanted to do, and until recently when I decided to loan out basically my Nanawa stones as a honing kit and put together a set of balsa strops and let people try these if they want to, okay? That gave me the opportunity to get something I've always wanted. I've always wanted a Suhiro 20K stone, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to shape that. I'm not going to make a video of me shaping it, although I'll probably take some pictures and so I got this, and it comes, and it has this this nice little box, and the instructions in Japanese, which I don't read Japanese, so I'll have to wing it on how to learn to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and this is where the game changer came in for me, whereas John JPO has shaped his hones, including Arkansas stones, using a diamond plate that is flexible and is commonly used for sharpening ice skates. Okay, and he props it up, and he even talked about maybe making a video and showing how he shapes a stone, which I think is a great idea, because the tool that I use may not, this is what I have affectionately called the Jared plate, because he was the one who came up with the idea of this, and he's not the only one. There's a guy in Virginia who's on a couple of the forums who has made a shaping plate of his own. And like I said, John JPO in Norway has done some shaping of stones in his own method. And the ancient grinders, who would have been like this guy, they would have had to figure out some sort of a way to put a shape into into their stones, and how that's done, I don't know. But in the 21st century, we have a CNC machine piece of aluminum that you can apply an abrasive to, and you can take your stone and you can go ahead and you can rub this stone on there, and it will take the inverse shape of that. And that's what I've done with this and a whole bunch of other things. And now, interestingly, the Suhiro stone comes with a cleaning they call this a dual cleaner. Okay, I don't know where dual comes from, but it's marked 400. So I don't know if that's a 400 grit, whereas this is considered on the grit rating that they use, this is considered a 20,000 grit. Okay, and that grit rating is different than what is used on the Shapton stones, but this has the same particle size, it's about a half a micron, same particle size as the Shapton glass 30K stone, even though that's 30K, this is 20K. And I don't know if this is 400 grit, but I'm going to shape this. I'm going to put a piece of sandpaper on here, and I'm going to shape this so I can use this as the cleaning stone for the Suhiro. I already have one that I've shaped, and this is an arc, okay, like a translucent arc, and this is shaped so that I can take this and kind of clean it. And I'm actually, while I'm at it, I have a Nano with 12K. I forget what they call these things, Nagora or whatever, the rubbing stone. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shape this into a convex, and so I can use that for a cleaning stone. So, and this will give me an opportunity to test my theory, to see if will my final stone, and this will be convexed on the long dimension, so that'll be put on this plate, whereas this dimension, the curvature here is a 24-foot wheel. This here is a 6-foot wheel, and I'm gonna make it on that long dimension, and I'm gonna keep the other side flat. So I can test how well and if I can get an improvement on my edges by going to, I'll have one side of this shaped and the other side flat, to see if I can do that. And this Suhiro is really nice. It comes with this nice little rubber type stone holder and all that kind of stuff, and I really, really like it. So I'll be doing a couple of photos through here. I'll probably narrate when I drop the photos in, and then at some point in time, I'll go ahead and I'll do some honing and see, does that, okay, or is this just become for me, okay, because once I've gotten an Arkansas shaped like this and the ones that I had like this, okay, the only stone that I could really needed to use outside of these, although I did find more aggressive synthetic stones to be helpful when there was a lot of material that needed to be removed, as in the case with certain really, really goofy Chinese razors that probably you'd never get them to shave if you were using a flat stone and using a curve that you can get up into there, and you can reach that edge and you can create that type of thing. It is a method that works very, very well. So with that, this is Bill out, and I'll follow back in probably with a couple of photos. I'm going to start off with this is an 80 grit 3M sandpaper. Speaking of 3M, I didn't see any for those of you that are in the habit of beating up people who make sharpening videos and they don't use 3M tape, and you like to tell them that they don't know what they're doing, and you do. Maybe you should read this, and what you'll find is back in 1860, they didn't use 3M electrical tape on the spine of their razors. And I'm just saying, happy day. Bill out. Okay, here's a couple photos. There's the sandpaper and the stone before I did the markers to show where it was. There I am. Step one, I don't remember how much time it took me to get to here, but it did take long. There I am. You can see how much stuff and where the sandpaper finally gave way. I ultimately went to the silicon carbide 60 grit powder to add that in and moved it along. And then here I am, another piece of sandpaper, 80 grit. There I am moving along even further with it, and this is where it gets to be long. Here I am done with the 80 grit and moving to where I'm going through a progression smoother at 120 grit here. Here I am shaping the rubbing stones. And as I went through the papers, ultimately I stopped on the surface with an 800 grit wet dry, automotive type wet dry. So you all have a good day.